Being a woman isn't simple as it is. It is more than just a struggle of identity. It is a struggle of passion, faith, and emotion. Nonetheless, we women do just as well as men. Actually, no. Women do just as well on their own. No comparisons needed. As they reach greater heights, women face many battles of their own, in the workplace, in achieving their goals, and in themselves. Am I true enough as a woman? What does my hijab mean to me? Do I need to be a certain way to be a woman? Am I a true Muslim woman? Farhana, a woman of passion and introspection, works in Dow Jones as a research editor and is currently pursuing her studies at Cassis. In this video, Farhana shares her humble experience as one of the few women in her team and how she braved through her struggles as a woman, specifically a Muslim woman. Listen to her speak on what an identity of a true Muslim woman is and be moved by her words.
Okay, so my name is Farhana and I'm currently working as a research editor over at Dow Jones, and I'm currently in the process of pursuing my studies over at Cassis UTM KL, inshallah. Okay, so rather than mentioning that it's an unconventional path, I would rather say that it's an alternative path because everyone has their own choice to do. But I chose this path because I didn't want to limit myself to what my friends are doing, because I didn't come from a so-called religious module major. I came from sociology and anthropology. So I want to give space. I think what's conventional or the path of working at a mosque or any Muslim organizations needs to be given to those who has the knowledge to do it, which are friends with a religious majoring background. Whereas for me, I decided to pursue this path is because it's different from what I used to do and what I've been surrounded with. And also, I just enjoy learning something that's not within my comfort zone. I think it's fun. It's fun because it's difficult. Yeah. So basically, my main role as a research editor is to research on finance-related subjects. Basically, everyone in the team is given a set of portfolios, and we look over that portfolio and we make sure that the information given is always up to date. So we also do a little bit of we also support the due diligence team with their reports. So that's what I do daily. And yeah, and otherwise we also participate in different clubs like women at DJ that deals with issues relating to women. So that's what I do.
You mentioned that you did the Arabic translation as well.
Yes. So basically, the information given is not, because most of the reports in my portfolio are not English reports. They are basically, some of them will appear in Arabic basically, and there's no way that we can Google Translate because some reports are literally scans. So basically, the companies will actually write reports and then it is being scanned and then they upload it on their site. So from there, they actually needed Arabic speakers to actually translate the information and keep the data in the company up to date. So that's what I do.
You mentioned also about doing something to do with finance. So you didn't come from that kind of background. How did you cope with that at the beginning, and what do you have to do to be familiar with the whole process?
Yeah, so I definitely have no interest, and I definitely did not come from a finance-related background. I came from sociology and anthropology, so the two fields are so different than each other, and obviously having anything to do with finance that is related to, that is in Arabic is not something that we read every day, especially even when we study in madrasa or when I was in UAE, we don't really read finance-related news. So in order for me to catch up with that, I was one of those people who would stay back or come in early to literally memorize what I need, the basics of what I need to know. So for the first 3 months, I was actually trained I was actually trained and having to force myself to read news reports in Arabic. And then I also have a colleague from Spain. He is an Arab, actually, Moroccan, who actually helped me, train me to translate or find information in Arabic, basically. I think being a woman in the male-dominated industry basically means you, at some point, you need to work harder. Because for me, I've experienced also an episode whereby my opinion were not accepted. So for a while there, it wasn't accepted because I was working on a project with another team, and then my voice was not accepted because because not only because I'm new, but because I think I'm the only woman within that group of people. So we had to go through a mediation session with one of the directors. And then, although the director is a man, he's very inclusive of our opinions, and he takes everyone's opinion seriously. After that mediation, we start working better, and because it's not about who's right or who's wrong. At the end of the day, what is the best alternative? What is the best information? What is the best way to do something that clients can accept, that we can give to the clients? Because at the end of the day, in any industry, it's about service, right? How to do things so well that people will want to continue buying the product. So I think being a woman, you need to understand, or being a man, it doesn't really matter which gender you are. I think all of us should find a space that everyone's voice can be heard. Because at the end of the day, like I say, it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about what's the best way forward. So basically, some of the most difficult thing about this industry is that the need to always, firstly, the need to always stay in touch with what's going on. Because sometimes anything that happened with finance, there's always something that's changed. And then there's always governments who start a new company or sell companies or buy stakes or shares in another company. So there's always something to keep up with. Secondly, I think some challenges is, of course, the translation. Up until today, even though I've been in this field for some time, I still find the need to actually go to my colleagues who happen to come from Arab-speaking countries. They study there. For example, I think Jordan, Egypt, Kuwait. So they come from those countries. So they are more accustomed to the Arabic language, basically. So I find myself having to have discussions with them. For example, things like the term ilgha used in a company or in a business report, in a finance report. Each country, for example, Kuwaitis might use it differently, the Jordanians might use it differently, or even the Emiratis might use it differently. So there's always this space that needs this information that needs to be discussed with. But it's fun nonetheless.
Right, so you went to Europe and Spain specifically. So what do you think of their response, or is there any experiences that you have there with regards to you being a hijabi or as you being a hijabi co-host?
Yeah, so I think it's normal for any hijabi to feel scared to go out of comfort zone and experience work in another country, because Spain, as we all know, most of the people there don't wear hijab, but I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, to be in a company that's so accepting of our hijab, because the point is because they care more about who can get the job done the best way. So what I wear, what my orientation is, what my religion is not something that they care about so much. But when I was working there, we were having lunch. This is something that I can share with everyone. It's an episode that I experienced when I was in Spain. I was eating at a restaurant with my colleagues, and then the server came and asked me to take off my hijab. He said that he asked me to in a not proper English, he said to take off my hijab because it's a sign of freedom. So my colleagues were telling me to just ignore him. But then the way I see it is that his understanding of it doesn't bother me at all, actually, because for me, I think it's just a matter of our understanding of what freedom is. So my version of freedom is that I do what I want, you can do whatever you want, as long as we don't bother each other or hurt each other or destroy each other's belongings, everything's fine. But for him, his version of freedom means anything that is right from his point of view. Hijab is not something that he's used to. Hijab is not something that is accepted within his society. So anything that's not accepted within his society means it's not freedom. Means there's something that's stopping me from getting his version of freedom. So although it was an eye-opening experience, it didn't bother me as much.
So what is your advice to women who choose to pursue a career that is like quote unquote outside the normal? And what are your advice for Muslim women out there, especially those who are donning or wearing the hijab?
Oh, advice. I personally think that rather than everything we wear, I think we are at the stage or at the time when everything we wear, from our hijab to the way we dress or what we decided to do with our skin, put on makeup, is a symbol of individuality. So as long as, I think rather than worrying about your hijab, because technically it's part of who you are, I think we should be worried about whether or not we are being true to ourselves first. I think it's really important for Muslim women to take a step back and think about why they wear hijab. Like, I'm really proud of my hijab. It's not something that's bothered me. It hasn't been, like, I was in Hong Kong alone as well, and I'm the only person there wearing hijab, and it still didn't bother me because I'm proud of what I am, of who I am, and I love being a Muslim. So as long as you hold on to it, and instead of working through your worries about hijab, I'd rather us Muslim women look through our worries about what we can do to contribute to society instead. Because every woman or every man, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, which religion you are from, which orientation you're from, I think we all have something to contribute to the society. I think that's something that needs to be encouraged and accepted, rather than worrying so much about what a person wears. So for Muslim women out there, if you are planning to go on this unconventional journey, worry more about how you're going to contribute to what you're about to contribute to, as opposed to if you're proud to be a Muslim, then what's the worry about hijab, right?
Do you receive any comments from people around you or anyone when you tell them about your current field or what you're doing currently? And if so, how do you actually react to them?
Current field. When I tell everyone about my current field, I think the society that I'm in is more acceptance of the kind of job that I'm in. Like, they're not like, as long as you have a job, it's something that's celebrated. But rather, if there's anything I worry about, it's about my role outside of my primary role as a research editor at Dow Jones, which is on weekends we have our duties as an asatiza. So that is something that I always worry about, and I take more care than I do with what people think of myself as a research editor. Because if you have this identity as an asatiza, ustad or ustazah, you carry the role of the source of religion, of what's right, the right kind of Islam within society. Society will turn to you as a source. So I think that's something that I worry about more, because it's not something that we can just take lightly. As a source, you need to be proper with what you share. You need to be knowledgeable with the advice you give. And rather than worrying about my identity as a research editor, I worry more about that identity as a asatiza.
When you say you're continuing to study,
Yes.
doing your masters, so you didn't quit your job.
No, I didn't.
How do you balance between both, and why did you continue studying, and why that particular field? Can you tell us what you're studying at KC?
Okay, so basically I'm studying at Center for Advanced Islamic Studies over in UTM KL. So what we do there at CASIS is that I'm studying philosophy, and our concern is the Islamic worldview. and how it's being represented to various fields, and how we inculcate that in our actions in daily life. So that's why I'm studying over in CASIS. How do I balance between studies and work is because I that person that believes that everything that we have now is something that we prayed for. So even though I'm tired or I'm busy or I just have extra work to do, I will study after work. Like after work, or I'll wake up early in the morning, because I believe that I've prayed to study for such a long time, and if I don't put effort into it, then I'm not telling Allah, or I'm not showing Allah that it's something that I'm blessed with, that I feel grateful to Him. Because like I said, being grateful to Allah is not something that's just done through speech, but also done through action. So as long as I believe that this is something that Allah has granted me through my prayers, I have to show Allah that I'm grateful to it. So there is a sense of responsibility there.
You mentioned that you're studying philosophy.
Yes.
In cases. Could you explain a bit more what exactly is the main focus? Like, what is their concern when you talk about adab and all this?
Yes.
Maybe you could explain on that.
So basically, the main concern of CASIS is adab, basically. So putting things at its right place. So the idea is that, for example, I think the best quotation that I could quote is from Professor Muhammad Nowan Daud's recent lecture, whereby he said that justice is adab reflected through wisdom. So what he meant is that we can have as much knowledge as we can gain through our readings, to our lectures, to any sources of knowledge that we might come across. But if we don't put those things at its right place, then we are not actually reflecting the knowledge that we have learned. So for example, if someone comes to us and asks us for advice on needing a job, we can't simply brush them off and tell them that, they should pray. Yes, they should pray, but there are other proper sources or proper channels that they can go through to get help. Or for example, current situation whereby there are so many people who need help out there, poor people who need help, and also some rich people who also mention that they need help as well. They are poor as well. But if you think about it, right, the money that we have, it is better for us to actually give our money to the poor, because they can't even afford basic necessity. Whereas the rich, what they mean by poor is that they cannot afford luxuries as opposed to basic necessities that they already have. So that is one of the ways that we are putting adab, we are putting things at its right proper place. Because we know how much money comes in, we know how much we can give, we know how much society can get out of the money that people donate. But it's a matter of having wisdom and knowledge of where to put it, so that our knowledge is being reflected in the right proper place.
Right. So okay, this is the last question.
Okay.
So how do you think your experience in cases can help people in Singapore? How will it contribute back here? And do you think it needs more women representation or more women involved in cases or that field, especially here in Singapore?
In Singapore, to be honest with you, I don't think we should be concerned about the numbers, whether or not there's women's voices in cases, but rather our concern is whether or not the students that graduated from cases are students of caliber, are people of adab. So if we don't worry a lot, if we put too much worry about the numbers, we are not worrying about the quality. When we don't worry about the quality, it's going to reflect on the whole society. So for example, if there is if 100 students graduated from an institution, but only one graduated with adab, then it doesn't reflect the knowledge that the institution have. So that's why in CASIS, even when I first joined, the lecturers do not really ask about they don't really look at the fact that I'm female, but rather they look at if I'm ready to continue my studies in CASIS. They look at adab, they look at the way I speak, they look at the issues that I'm concerned with, and they guided me from there. So how it will help the Singaporean society is that it will help me in a sense that, because rearrange or reflect on what I understood, reflect on what's more important. Is it the fact that someone gets this job just because they have the qualification, or if someone gets a certain job because we trust them and we know that that person can do their job properly with the right knowledge. So, for example, if you give someone an amount of money to two people, so one of them does not have any they just graduated with as one of the best students in our university, and you give another, might not be graduating with the best results, but they have the experience and they have the knowledge on where to put the money at. So our society will tend to go for the elites and choose those people with the better education, the better results, the better graduate, the better sources. But they don't put the money, they don't hire those people who can actually manage the place properly, because they manage the place properly or know where to channel that money properly. So I think that's where I come in to actually, so that's why I've learned in CAS, to kind of put things at its right and proper place. Because at the end of the day, religion is not just something that we practice blindly, but we have to know what we're practicing and how to properly practice it. So yes, that's my answer.